Hello and welcome back. Daddy Cliff here. So, one of the questions that I've been having is how do I contact a professor to study in South Korea? It is important to note that I already have, I think this is going to be the third video on how to contact a professor in South Korea. But in this video, I'm going to say things that I didn't say in the previous videos. But that is not to say those videos are not important. So you might want to check the video up there, one of them up there, and watch. And then at the end of the video, you might want to look at the other one because you might have some helpful information there. Contacting a professor in any country and then getting a response from them through email is not always that easy, especially in South Korea. Why do I say especially in South Korea? Because being a professor is a whole lot of work in the first place, which means professors are busy. And then know that if you're contacting a professor in South Korea, you should be ready to write many emails. Many does not mean 10. It does not even mean 50. You should be aiming for maybe 90 going upward before you might probably find a professor who might respond to your email. And then another thing that I have to say is that when you write the first email to the professor, don't write them a series of emails, because sometimes they might see it and then they might have the desire to respond, and then maybe something might happen and then they might forget. Maybe 2 weeks later, send them a gentle reminder making reference to the previous email that you sent or the first email that you sent. So in case you send the second email and then you don't get a response, walk away, go to the next professor and then email them. But before you email a professor, there are certain important things that you have to know first when emailing a professor, and that's what we are going to look at in this video. So first we will look at why you should first choose South Korea, and then we will look at how to go about looking for your major in the Korean website. And then thirdly, we will look at the necessary documents that you would have to submit to the professor to gain admission. Without wasting too much time, let's get to my computer. But first, before we get to my computer, if you know you've not yet subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do. I notice that a lot of people watch my videos but they don't subscribe. Please make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on any eventual opportunities on scholarship, because the channel is not only focused on scholarships in South Korea, it is equally focused on scholarships in Canada, America, Europe. You might have the opportunity to find something that might be of help to you, not just to study in South Korea, but maybe why not Canada or America. Now, it is important for me to state here that there are two intakes for study in South Korean universities. There is one intake which is the summer intake, and that is usually between March, April, May, and probably June. Some universities have different intakes. And then there is the winter intake. That is October, November, December, and January. That is when you have to prepare your documents to send to South Korea. Now, the question that you might have is, why should I choose South Korea? South Korea is still a very young country, despite the fact that it was able to develop within a very short period of time. Like immediately after the Korean War, Korea got very developed, really rapidly. Despite the fast rate of development, South Korean government is still very much involved in R&D, that is research and development, which means the government is putting in a lot of money into research and development, and most of that money, a majority of the money, goes to universities and other research institutes. So that will mean you would have an opportunity to come and do research in the university. So professors always draft projects and then gain funding from South Korean government. And when they gain those fundings, they need students to help them to carry out a research in that particular project. So you might be doing your master's or PhD with a professor in his lab, embark on a project that the professor might have gotten from the South Korean government, which is aimed at maybe developing something that will help in research and development. And why not innovation, which is very important for any country. When they want to develop, they have to always innovate, and for countries to innovate, they have to do research and development. That is one of the reasons why you should think about studying in South Korea. So the money that the professor gets from those projects, that is what he would use to finance your studies for maybe your master's or PhD, and that is what he will equally use to maybe provide you with some financial allowances like monthly stipend for you to take care of yourself. And then from that project, you do research, you do publications into maybe international journals, and that is equally part of your learning process. And you might have to equally present in conferences within or maybe out of South Korea, still sponsored by the professor, and that will help to equally enhance your learning in South Korea. So based on the fact that Korea is still a young country that has developed fast, they are still investing in research and development. And I believe if you come to Korea to study, you would be able to learn something, because the money is there that the government has put for research and development. That being said, one potential applicant to come and study in South Korea was asking me to make a video on how to contact a professor for biological science. Let's look at it from the computer. Now, the first thing that you need to do is go to Google and then type study in Korea. When you click on study in Korea, you would find study in Korea run by Korean government. You click on that and then change the language to English. Next thing is find college, universities and colleges. Search university and college. You click on that. Next thing is select, is it bachelor, is it master, and then affiliation. Type biological science. Type biological science and then select if you want scholarship, lectures in English. If you want dormitory, you select, then take search. A list of universities will come down here that offer biological science. So what you need to do is look at the universities and then decide. You can go and look for their rankings in Korea and in the world if you want. So totally you have 2 pages and you have a total of 20 universities. Let's go and take one of the top, Seoul National University. What I will do is I will go to Google again and then type Seoul National University, and then I will go to the university website. Once I am on the university website, go to academics and then take graduate, that's master and PhD, and then it will take you to the graduate page. From the graduate page, you will now find all the programs. What you need to do is look for biological science. Okay, you have it down here, biological science. Click here, home. It will open in a new page, and then you would have the website of biological science, or the major, the department. So from here you can find every information on this page. You can look for the faculty member, current faculty members. When you click on that, the current faculty members will come out, and then you can go into detail. So you have this total number of people. They have set all research areas, so you can like select the research area that you're interested in here. So let's say you're interested in virology. 2 people have come out. Kim V. Nari, Professor Kim V. Nari. If you click on her name, her information will come out. Her laboratory name will come out, Laboratory of RNA Biology. Her office number, telephone number, lab telephone number. This is her email, and then this is her website. You can go to her website. The most important thing is you need to know her research area. Another thing is her website might be in Korean language, which means you might want to look for something to translate it, but she has an option for English. She says join our journey to the RNA world. So you can read about her, but what you really need is her publications. So she says publication hereby journals. So some universities you might not find it in detail like this. Some you might find it. So you need to read her detailed publications. You need to read her detailed publications. So you have ASC, and she kind of co-authored with some people, and this was published in 2020. This one was equally done in 2020. Nano, bioinformatics, blood, cancer research and treatment. So this is a list of her publications. You have to know her research area so that you would now tailor your email in the direction of her research area. Let me now look at one example as to how you would have to frame your email before sending it to her. So you have to go and look for these publications. So let's take, for example, this one. All right, when you open it, you have the abstract, you have the full PDF. You can read the abstract here, and then look for the full publication. This is the full publication here. You can read the full publication, what they wrote, and then try to understand. If she is in a research area that is of interest to you, you can now talk about her research works and how they kind of align with your own research work. But know that you have to back them up with maybe some publications that you've already done. Okay, that's where we would have to look at an example of an email. Now that we've seen her publications, you can always go back to her publications and look at other publications. So she has kind of grouped her publications. This one is on ACS. This one is on ACS Nano. This is bioinformatics. This is blood, cancer research and treatment. This one is on cells. She has a lot on cells. So you have to look for an area that aligns. You have to make sure your research area where you want to do your research, your future research, aligns with her own, because they will not reply you if you are going to an area where they are not into it. So now the next thing is to look for an email. You already have her email here. You would have to copy the email and then email her. All right, let me bring out some examples of emails that have been sent to professors. I'm not saying that you should copy it. What you have to do is try to tailor the email to kind of suit you, because one thing is for certain, they receive a lot of emails, and just by reading the first line they can kind of tell if you took it somewhere, because they receive a lot of emails. So try to be unique in your own email. Just look at the email and then try to have an idea as to how you're supposed to write your own email. I repeat, do not copy. All right, so here you have two emails. This one is on computer science. This person wrote on computer science. So the person is kind of saying, I am computer science major and I am especially interested in your research on artificial intelligence. With artificial intelligence constantly evolving, I am interested in exploring its true capabilities and how machine learning can improve language processing. While looking for research opportunities to explore my passion within artificial intelligence, I came across your natural language processing article that you had published. So the person stated one of his past publications. You have to make sure you state some of the publications so that the person will know for real that you actually did some research on them. I feel that I will be able to learn more about artificial intelligence by becoming a part of your research laboratory. I have attached my resume in case it's helpful for you to know a bit more about me and my research background. So here your resume is supposed to have information about your academic profile, like from the most recent school. Maybe you just did your bachelor and then you want to do a master's. It should have information about your education from the most recent going downward. And then if you've had some achievements during your educational career, make sure you mention those achievements. be it in your educational career, be it maybe in your work life, you had some achievements. If you've worked for some companies, make sure you mention them briefly. Don't write too much. Don't bring a CV that is so packed full with a lot of information. They will not have the time to read it because they are busy. Professors are always busy. They don't have time to read too much information. That's why your email is equally not supposed to be long. For example, this one here is very short. So if you have some specific skills, mention those skills. And then if you have any language proficiency, if you're proficient in Korean language, indicate it. It will be a plus even, because despite the fact that you'll be learning in English, that professor is more comfortable in Korean language because the person is Korean. And then if you have some references, like some people who can attest to your work ethics, maybe you've worked for some company and maybe the boss can like talk about you positively. You went to a university, maybe your professors know your research ability. Indicate their emails and even phone numbers in the resume or CV. That will really help you. So this one is on computer science. Let's look at another. This other one is on microbiology. So the person kind of mentioned the GPA and then past papers that they have published here, microorganism and rhizosphere soils. So use this as your example to apply, but like I said, do not copy. That being said, I think this is enough information. In case you're not interested with Seoul University, go back to the website. Go back to the Study in Korea website and then maybe go to Konkuk University. And then go to Konkuk University website. And then academics. Graduate. And then try to look for biological science. So you have the departments here. This is natural science. This is Department of Biological Science. Click on it. Biological science. And then you have information on Department of Biological Science. But what is of interest here is for you to go and look the professors that are in this department and then getting to know them more, reading their papers, and then emailing them. This video I think is already too long. Like I said, I have other videos that I made on how to contact professors in South Korea. So you might want to go and watch those 2 past videos. And then you might have some other information there that will help you. Because contacting a professor, there is no one special way that is like can fit it all. There are many different ways that you can go about contacting a professor. But at the very end, the most important thing is that you should know their publications, know their research areas, and then tailor your email to fit to their area of research. And you should back it up with some publications that you've already made that will push them to think about contacting you. That being said, this is the end of the video. If you know you've not yet subscribed to the channel, please do. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.